name is Kathy and I am the Chief Chocolate Officer at MIRZA'M's Chocolate Makers. So MIRZA'M opened in September 2016 after a couple of years of research and development, finding our machines and deciding where we wanted to set up the factory. And what we specialize in is making chocolate from bean to bar. So we source cocoa beans, ideally from plantations that are located along the historical spice route, where the Arab traders from this region were at one point in history sailing around the world to try and buy all sorts of different spices and ingredients and bring them back here and onto Europe to sell. And we get those cocoa beans and then we go through a very intensive production process to make chocolate. I believe what makes our chocolate so special is how much effort goes into making it. And when people do come to our factory space, they can see that. They can see that every single person on the team is doing something by hand themselves to make that chocolate. So we wrap the bars by hand, we sort the cocoa beans by hand, we have it all here, we prepare the gift boxes by hand, and the artwork on each of the wrappers is created by a different artist by hand. And I think that is quite different from other food products that are available where you don't really get, I think a lot of people these days can see past the marketing wash of, pictures of happy people making food and actually see, a process that's really being done from a sense of passion and reward that comes from a great quality product. And everybody on the team is so proud of the results that we've had when our chocolate bars are being sold overseas, and when we win these awards, it's really the result of a big team of people. Big being a very relative term. I think it's a big team of people all putting in a lot of work themselves that gets us there. MIRZA'M was invited to propose a collection of licensee products that we could create for Expo 2020, and we were really lucky to be selected to deliver that contract. So over the next 3 years, we're going to be working with Expo 2020 to create and distribute the 2 different collections of chocolate bars that we're making. One is really inspired by the modern Middle East, and we're working with a really cool artist to create those wrappers. The ingredients that we've found and the recipes we're developing are really reflect the new trends that are happening in this region. And we're also creating a more culturally inspired collection that takes a lot more inspiration from historically accurate ingredients and spices. I think there's a massive sense of validation in being selected for such a prestigious project. We work really hard, and we have worked really hard. There's a lot of competition in this market. There's a lot of expectations in this market. There are, and probably all over the world, and launching a new product like chocolate, which is available everywhere. You have to work really hard to differentiate yourself from competition, and on making sure that we know when somebody is actually having a piece of chocolate that we have made, that it stands up to the quality that they expect. And that's really difficult work. So after, working so hard from when we launched, and I think it is really for everybody here on the team, a huge sense of achievement in being selected to be able to deliver this project. So the first stage of production is sorting through all of the cocoa beans that come through our factory by hand. So once the bags of cocoa beans arrive, they often have little bits of rope and stone, as well as small cocoa beans and underformed cocoa beans. And what happens is when those smaller beans are roasted, they burn really quickly, and that affects and adds bitterness to the taste of the overall batch of chocolate. Because we're not adding any other flavorings or harsh chemicals through the production process, we need to make sure that the cocoa beans that we start with are exceptionally high quality, and then the cocoa beans that are going to give us the best possible flavor. So once we've sorted the cocoa beans and we've made the selection of the ones we're going to use, we then roast them. We roast for about twice as long as coffee and at about half the temperature. When the beans have been cracked and separated, we then take the cocoa nibs into the grinding room. And until that stage, everything can be done in a few hours or a day. The grinding process takes about a week. That process is where we pulverize the cocoa nibs through a process of them being melanged in these big stone grinding machines, and the wheels are constantly turning 24 hours a day. That movement creates friction, creates heat. It smashes the cocoa nibs until the particle size is so small that you can't feel it in your mouth. So once that process is complete, we essentially have chocolate, and the next stage is a little bit less interesting, where we age the chocolate. So we pour it into big blocks and we leave it for about a month just to rest and age, and that really helps with the flavor development. Again, because we're not adding anything to speed up the process of reducing flavors left over from fermentation or adapting the flavors to be more consistent. The things that we can do in production are make a better effort to sort the beans by hand, to make a better effort to taste it while it's being conched and while it's being ground, to make sure we're getting the right flavors, and leaving the chocolate to age for a while. So then we have chocolate, and then we can do whatever we like with it. So at that point, that's where we make all of our chocolate bars. So we melt the chocolate down, pour it into our tempering machines. We mold every bar by hand and then wrap every bar by hand. We also make truffles, so we have a line of bonbons and truffles, and we make hot chocolate brownies, a few different cakes, and chocolate gelato. So we have a chocolate gelato that we make in collaboration with a local business as well. I waited a really long time before taking the leap to running a business at this level, and I would say to any entrepreneurs that are waiting to do something that don't let the amount of work and the stories about all of the road bumps and challenges that you're going to face stop you from doing it, because you do overcome them. And I think people can convince themselves that things that aren't that difficult are really hard. And likewise, that things that are really hard are actually quite easy. So it's definitely, there are lots of challenges. We have hot weather, we have logistical issues, we have staffing issues, we have machinery issues every day. There's so many challenges in operating a factory that are just, on top of whatever, the core operations that are required to have a business. But the rewards are also massive, and they, it might not be initially financial rewards, but the rewards of people telling you that they really like your chocolate, and the reward of working and collaborating with artists and collaborating with businesses and creating products. I never thought that would be possible to do. I really didn't think it would be possible to do here, and it really is.